There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know.
Hola, boa noite, and welcome to another special recording for the Portugal Club. My guest this evening is Eric Bourgon of DigiPause. Now, I'm going to give him a nice big round of applause because I was going to give him a nice big setup there and say, yes, I remember meeting Eric and thinking, wow, what a fascinating subject this is. The latter part is absolutely true. This is going to be an amazing conversation we're having. But I honestly can't remember how Eric and I, how our paths first crossed. So let's give him a nice big round of applause and find out. Monsieur Bourgon, good to see you.
Yes, Carl. Very happy to see you too.
Great to see you. Now, did we just kind of catch sight of each other, ironically, on social media and in the digital world and think to ourselves, we should have a chat?
Yes. And it's really funny, right? Because we will talk about the influence of social media that can lead to some negative aspect, but also some positive ones. And this is truly an example, the fact that we're able to connect and now talk as we're doing today.
Yeah, I'm so glad we can make this happen. And it's very timely because only in this last 48 hours, I've been thinking to myself, I'm just stretched too far. I started a Substack a few weeks ago thinking I need to cover all bases. And I'm thinking this is madness now. The advent of AI, where this is going, where people are spread across TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Substack, and their own website and their funnel and this, that, and the other. They can spend their whole time immersed in that sort of stuff and not actually be doing any of the work they set themselves up to do in the first place. So I'm reversing. I think you might be proud of me. I am reversing this trend. I'm going to focus on pretty much a single platform. I'll use YouTube to furnish that platform, but I'm going to reverse my funnel, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
And get a bit more focused and not have this FOMO thing going on, thinking I should be on every kind of platform. And that's part of the problem here, isn't it?
Yes, yes. And you nailed it really right, because how many of us think that multitask is the best way to perform and best way to gain results, when in fact it's the opposite. And it's proven by any neuroscientist, that monotask will keep you more fit and happy in the long run than going after this shiny object, pushing yourself, going in all directions, which is why most people nowadays struggle with digital fatigue and more specifically AI fatigue.
That's incredible. Okay, so I'm glad this research is out. And how did this myth of multitasking emerge then?
Well, years ago, Carl, we're talking about 2010, if my memory is right, neuroscientists were talking about the consequences of multitasking because it was highly encouraged as we were moving into this new digital age to perform at their best, doing everything and nothing. And that's how we started with this new language about optimization, acceleration, and so on, which was the root cause of what we now know as a burnout.
Yes, absolutely.
Because multitask is far from being healthy for you.
Right. Okay. And we have prided ourselves on this ability, haven't we? And women, I guess, the supreme multitaskers, and there has been a sort of battle for supremacy of the multitasking. And I'm so glad, for one. I don't know why I didn't think of this before. Obviously, it is going to burn you out. It's going to stretch you in so many different directions that you're going to be split asunder, if not actually, then mentally and spiritually, quite possibly. So that's good. We've established that. We've established the context and reason for having a DigiPause. So let's find out more about that. And looking at your website, again, more shocks. I'm shocked, but then it's funny with these things. I'm shocked, but not surprised, because you have the first shock and then you think, actually, yeah, that makes complete sense. And these stats that are on your website are quite extraordinary about how people's lives really are blighted by this inability to now, as part of their multitasking, not put their smartphone down. So here we are on your website here. And this is I think the context of this is DigiPause and how people are when they're supposedly relaxing. Okay, 56% of consumers check their smartphone smartphone 1 to 5 times hourly. These are real shockers here. What's the longest Americans can go without checking their smartphone on vacation? The 2 weeks of the year when they're supposed to be switching off from their very busy corporate career, 27%, 1 to 2 hours, 21%, 30 to 60 minutes, 90%, 2 to 3 hours. This is pretty shocking, isn't it? And I imagine, like all addicts, they say, well, I can manage it. I'm doing this because I want to, and I could stop it if I wanted to. We actually can't, can we? And we need a bit of help, possibly in the shape of something like DigiPause.
Yeah, and you know the facts, the information you have on this website are very. Oh my gosh, I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago.
Right.
So if you look at what's happening at the moment, it's completely the opposite. And to be really honest with you, I chose to pull the plug on DigiPause a year ago because I came to realize that, wait a minute, there's a difference between what people really want and what they're willing to do to get it.
Yes, indeed.
And we got into this new idea that, oh, I want to live longer and better. But at the same time, there's a paradox. Because when I talk to people and have this open conversation, rarely that people say, oh, I love my life. But yes, they want to live longer. And they talk about what needs to be done to improve the quality of their well-being, which is about eat well, go do your yoga, CrossFit, and so. And I'm not saying it's wrong, by the way. But then if you ever touch on the time they spend online, oh my gosh, no, that don't touch. It's okay.
Don't go there.
It's okay if I scroll all day. It's normal. Everyone else is doing it.
Yeah.
And the best part is this: most of these guys act as coaches or wellness gurus, so they know. Yeah, they know better. So
Yes.
I bring that up because I think it's important to have this conversation.
Yeah.
To realize that this idea to unplug cannot just be a trend. It's a way to live.
Yes.
It's a way to live so that you're sure that you're not gonna have to experience something like a breakdown or a burnout.
Amazing, amazing. So you said that you kind of shelved it because you're meeting this. What is it? An unwillingness, really. When the rubber hits the road, people are like, yeah. Okay, I'll do anything, but not that. That in the meatloaf moment, right? I'll do anything for my health, but not put my phone down. But what you've decided to come back into the game because there's a definite need here, or a different format. Why are you back into this now?
So the reason why I decided to put things aside is because AI is a game changer, as we both know. AI is changing the way we behave, how fast we can have access to information, either something that can be learned from or something we can create on the spot. So what we got now is a quantity of information. So we're going through an overload.
Yeah.
And we don't have the ability to process the information that we receive. I'm first here to say that I bought so many programs online that look really appealing. And guess what? They're sitting on my hard drive.
That's what happens, isn't it? Yeah.
And do you think that I put them in practice? No, because there's so much stuff going on, this kind of overstimulation, that I don't have time needed to go into it. But the truth is this: it's not that I don't have time. It's because I lack focus. And I share that openly because I want people to recognize themselves. And I created many programs under the umbrella of DigiPause, which always bring the same idea, is to say, okay, what about if you were to change your digital habits one day at a time, and by doing so, reinforce the possibility to have access to the real definition of well-being, right? Because well-being is not just limited in how big your muscles are or how pretty you look like. It's also about this part here, the brain.
Yeah.
And talk to any neuroscientist, they will always say the same. You need time to rest. You need to press pause on this overload of stimulation. If not, something will eventually collapse.
Okay.
And if that's not enough, let's say that this new generation is about to taste it's a sour taste from this need to always be online, this over excess of screen exposure, because neuroscientists are talking about digital, what do you call it?
Well,
and
addiction.
phobicity, digital
Oh,
dementia. Yeah.
no. Oh my.
Yes, because we're not going to talk about addiction in this program. We're not going to talk about how bad that is. Everyone knows it.
Yeah,
But when
yeah.
you got an official organization like the World Health Organization, okay, who doesn't want to recognize that this is a real problem, and
Mhm.
there's many correlation between the mental health epidemic and what we are seeing at the moment that concerns every one of us, the young ones as the older ones, then we have a problem. It means
We
that
do.
it's not them who
Yeah.
will provide us the solution. We need to
Yes.
find a solution from other sources.
Well said. And yeah, okay, fair enough. And I appreciate that to not be dwelling on the negative because we all in our hearts know how bad it is. So, what is the solution? What are you proposing, and what can you tell us about DigiPause that people can engage with? Because presumably it's not another online course that people will buy and
No,
then
no,
not
no,
use.
no. I know it's kind of funny, right?
Yeah.
No, the idea is to go back to the essential.
Okay.
It's about what we've been replacing with the sudden growth of this digital revolution,
Uh-huh.
making our life easier, yes, but at the same time, taking us away from the essential that we all need, you
Okay.
know, whether it's a daily shot of vitamin N, vitamin nature, as Richard Louv used,
Yeah.
or anything that bring us back to something more real, more human.
Yes. And are you coaching people to do this? What's the structure of this? Like again, people will be leaning forward saying, "Yeah, I could do with that." At the same time, it's like, "Well, don't you dare touch my smartphone." What is the access? How are you actually going about doing this with people?
Well, I can briefly touch on how I got into this idea of DigiPause because
Yes.
myself, I was addicted, more than 20 years of screen exposure, couldn't find a solution. I had to come in places like Portugal to discover that there's other ways to live. And
Yeah.
that's how I brought these things together. That to me is the definition of a healthier lifestyle,
Okay.
stepping away from the unhealthy sedentary lifestyle, which
Yes.
means that you're always on your own and you don't interact with others, that you don't move much. So that is the main aspect that I'm bringing into my methodology, which is
Yes.
about movement, expression, and connection. Now,
Wonderful.
fair enough to say that when I started this thing, I never did it from a business point of view. I did it because for me it was essential to
Yes.
create what I call a natural antidote to this modern dilemma. Years
Mm.
went by, 15 years in fact. I had a chance to promote many activities in North America as it is in India and now Europe. But I found something, Carl, that kind of changed along the way. Before we had people who were like me able to start a project, and the view was not just to make it financially viable, but it was about what can I bring to this world to make it a better place.
Hmm.
And over the years, the startup mentality came to introduce a new, I don't say a new ideology, but a new way to frame this
Yeah,
thing,
yeah. An
you
ethic. I'm with
know,
you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. To
called
startup culture.
wellness.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
There's something definitely occurring, isn't there, around that?
it's not the same. Let's be
Yeah,
honest for a
yeah,
second. You
yeah, yeah.
know, every time that I was introducing my idea, my want was just again to make this world a better place, one digital pause at a time. Then I got into this idea of the startup world, saying that you need to make it profitable. And some
Yes.
people started to argue that, man, this is like a $1 billion industry. So I was under the impression that someone would take over this challenge to not just make it profitable, but make it accessible to people. And
Yes.
that's why I hit the wall.
Yeah. Right.
So, and I say that openly because during the pandemic, everyone had this kind of craving to step out of their house, go out and hug a tree and chill. But
Yes.
as you know, this idea that we all need to work from home, the new normal,
Yeah.
came to a point where people don't even want to go out and just chill with strangers. They
Mm.
prefer to do that all at home because it's more comfortable.
Yes.
And what I see now, because I've been talking to people about it, especially in Porto, what is it that you're looking for? And I see this living paradox everywhere I go.
Hmm.
People who move into big cities because they want to connect with people, they feel alone and in a place of isolation. How
Yeah.
strange.
Yes.
So, again and again, this is where we need to have this kind of debate to understand where is the position of this idea of digital wellness? Is it possible? Is it feasible? Is it accessible?
Yes. And
And
you're having that conversation now, right? That you're in the middle of that conversation by the sound of it.
I'm in the middle of this conversation as we speak. And that's why, like I said, I chose to take a step back because my work was dedicated to the hotel and hospitality sector,
Yes.
which brought me to Portugal in 2019
Hmm.
to really understand how they were going to position this new idea of medical and wellness tourism in
Yes.
reference, of course, to digital detox that actually started down in Algarve. There were some resorts who were offering that kind of program. So I came here to really understand how I could perhaps create something with them. But I came to realize that no, what we got was more like, again, this idea to follow the trends,
Yes.
but there were no real efforts to bring some substance to this idea.
I can understand that. I could see how it could be very superficial. It's like the health farms of the 70s, isn't it? Where people would go,
Yeah,
but they just saw it as a punishment, really. And that's what we have to reframe, isn't it? Is like the idea that it's a massive hardship.
it,
You
it's,
really need to connect with the cost. I think that helps human beings to connect with the cost. But you've also, as well as the cost, and creating a clearing where you know the cost is also to really feel the value, right? And presumably that's where you're headed now.
well, let's put it this way. So I think people will really relate to what I'm saying. Scrolling all day, which is normal, everyone is doing it,
Yes.
comes with a price.
Yes.
Okay. So when I say, okay, but what about if you invest on your well being one digital pause at a time? It's not just a marketing stunt,
Yeah.
it's truly a way to say, how can I bring new habits in my life that are
Yeah.
meant to help me, support me from head to toes? Just not to look good, but also feel okay here.
Become
And
sane.
um, and I think that right now the biggest challenge is to find a way to assure that people understand that it's much more than just a trend,
Yes.
right? Because as you know, in Portugal right now, it's all about health and longevity. There's so
Yes.
many programs out there. Everyone is bringing the solution, the kind of life transformative retreat of some sort. And listen, it's great. I've been in some of them,
Yes.
but we're not looking at the long run here. We're looking at the short term pink cloud effect, the kind of spiritual bypass that is causing more harms. No, I know it sounds maybe too much, but
No, no, no.
let's put
I'm
it
with you.
this
I'm
way.
with you. I'm really with you because it's the difference between, and it's so difficult to stay out of marketing cliches, isn't it? But it's the difference between the problem that Portugal has had for a long time, which is people flying into Lisbon and exiting out of Porto and having bacalhau, a francesinha, and a pastel de nata, which is a hit for the economy, and they love it. But there's no long-term gain or investment with
No,
that sort of thing. And then we've
no.
moved, by the sound of it, from the work you're aware of, is a longer retreat and drink a few smoothies and maybe do a cacao ritual or something like that. But again, we're talking about embodying sustainability, slow tourism in the real sense, not slow tourism as a marketing stunt, but slow tourism as
Yes,
in something what really changes your life and invests both. It's a win-win. So it's an investment for Portugal and it's an investment for the person who comes here on their vitality vacation.
exactly. And that's why I chose to join a real tour operator specialized in delicacy tour for
Right.
small groups
Okay.
to really understand what's going on, what's the offer, but also what's the response from the clients. In this
Yes.
case, it's mostly North Americans.
Right.
And
Yeah.
this will give me an opportunity to really see the big picture. So
Yes.
when I will come back with my offer, it will not be based on my opinion. It will be based on them, what they're looking for. So pretty much, I'm here to feel the pulse.
Okay.
And what I would say to you is this: less than 3 weeks now that I'm out there, like today I was on a tour, and I see it again and again. People are willing to pay a lot of money for real experiences,
Yes.
past the typical bacalhau, francesinha. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is great. I had
Yeah.
my share just yesterday. But the point is, yeah, seriously, But the point is, if we listen to them,
Yes.
who are they? Why are they coming here? What
Yeah.
is it that they want to bring home?
Yes.
And how much are they willing to pay to get the results they cannot find home?
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now we see there's so much tension, just North America at the moment, so much tension, so much uncertainty, so much confusion, that if you come here to relax, if you come here to learn from the culture, and if you come here to take a shot of what Portugal has best to offer, right?
Mm.
You know it. You've been exposed to the same reality. When we talk, example, about the benefit of vitamin C, SAE, it's
Yes. Yes.
there.
Yes.
You
Yes.
don't have to go very far. If you're by the coast, you are there. So
Yeah.
what's the point to focus on just things to do, you know, like taking your photos and doing. I have nothing against it.
Mhm.
But if people are coming here to relax, let's give them what they're looking for. And I doubt that relaxing happen when you're in the middle of a city like Lisbon or Porto, super fast, super impersonal, you know, trying to find something that might help you
Yeah.
with your life. So
I'm
I
with
think
you.
the biggest challenge that we face now is to see how can we use foreigners such as me here
And
that
me.
come from a different country, and you, Carl, and
Yes.
you, and all the others, all the expats in this country, to say, perhaps we have a say on what hospitality means for us coming from our end.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Because I've traveled around Europe, I'm always amazed about how beautiful it is, how
Yes.
rich the culture is.
Yes.
I'm also amazed about how guides know their stuff by heart.
Mm.
But I'm also questioning, what about the client? Do you
Mm.
think they have the capacity to absorb all of this information?
Mm.
So if we put ourselves, if we wear their shoes for a minute, as we say in North America, before
Yeah.
you judge someone walking his moccasin for half a mile,
That's
if we
right.
really do that, if they start to do that, they will then understand that, okay, maybe, just maybe, they're not looking for what we have to offer. Maybe
Mm.
they're looking for something different,
I agree.
something that is less demanding,
Mm.
because let's put it this way, it's pretty aggressive. I was on a tour last week, 3 hours tour, nonstop. The guy was talking about everything and nothing. And
Mm.
at some point, I was like, yeah, but my cup is full. You can go on for more. Yeah, truly. I mean, my cup is full.
Yes.
What am I going to do with that? I'm learning everything about your beautiful city, but how much of what I'm learning there will benefit for what I'm really looking for,
Yes, I get
right?
it. I do get it. I mean, it's biblical almost. And another
Yes.
realization I've had in the last couple of days. Listen to an old spiritual teacher of mine, and he put this idea really that we're talking about of knowledge and information is an interruption, and it can be
Yes.
entertaining, and it can be informative, and it can be like being at school because we're conditioned to appreciate being packed with facts, aren't we? It's seen as a kind of noble pursuit to absorb facts and learn things and take things.
Absorbing,
Yes,
absorbing information.
yes, but
Yes.
at the same time, it's like the tree of knowledge, isn't it? Whilst you've bitten the apple of information, you're no longer being in the experience. Something else is jamming your frequency, if you like, and that's a hard sell. I think this is a hard thing to, as you know,
Yes.
to share with people and to influence people around that, because that's what it is. It is about presenting a different option, isn't it? And you might call that influence, you might call it marketing, but I'm glad you're saying it. I'm glad you're making this opportunity available. I'm glad you're still having the conversation about it, having put it aside previously. But whilst we're cramming people with experience and information, we're not really letting them be, are we? And also,
No.
people are not used to being, so they're almost wanting to be crammed full of information. It's negotiating that, isn't it? And letting people sort of breathe out and open up, perhaps in this beautiful country of ours here. Is that what you're talking about? That kind of,
It's what I'm talking about because we touch on digital detox experiences. I
yes.
think I don't have to explain that the idea is just to take some vacation from your phone and do something else you don't have time
Yes.
to do otherwise.
Yes.
But the point is, if it's a restriction, what are we doing again?
Yeah. Right.
You know, I'm taking away something that provides you pleasure. And
Yeah.
for a time being, you're not allowed to do that. So you're going to
Yes.
have to deal with something else that might be even boring.
Yes. Right.
But what about if you just learn better ways to live?
Yeah.
And this choice comes naturally,
Yes.
so
Absolutely.
that you want to do it. You're not forced to do it anymore. And
Yeah.
it's not like the guy who's, you probably saw that also, people who eat crap and they go in a detox center because they feel guilty and they want to cut the slack on anything that is sweet or fat or so.
Yeah.
But then when they're gone from the retreat, what happened? They go back to the same habits,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So this thing
Because the
about
change is,
digital,
yeah, it's not an inner change, is it? It's an external.
it's not,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it was forced on them. They
Yes.
follow the trend.
Yes.
It's not like they were able to touch on intrinsic motivations
Yes.
that really show options that will allow them to tap into the full benefits they can get from the choice they're about to make. You
Yes.
know, when I talk about DigiPause, I'm not talking about you got to pull the plug for good. You're not allowed to use your phone anymore. Talking about moderation.
Yeah.
So we're far from restriction. And I think right now the biggest challenge for the industry is to understand what we need. We must understand people. Where are they coming from? Challenges they're facing, and
Yes.
what they can take.
Very good.
Because
To me, you're talking about transformation. There's change, isn't there? And there's transformation.
yeah,
And this is transformational work you're talking about through tourism.
yeah. Well, tourism. This is the problem. Is because when we think about tourism, we
Yeah.
oftentimes think about the busy season of the year. We're talking about loading their plate with more stuff than they need.
Yes.
When instead we use a language like travelers with purpose that comes from Canada, because I
Yes.
went to school there to learn how to create experiences, it's
Okay.
completely different.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
Because
Interesting.
then we listen to them. What are you looking for? Not what I want to offer you, but what are you looking for? And the answer is rarely what we think it will be, because less is more is the new ruler.
Yes.
When I talk to these guys, I definitely understand that what they want to do is to run away from anything that causes them to be stressed out or feel like overwhelmed.
Well, it's funny. I just had a conversation with Miguel Franco, and he's got this matrix, and
Yes.
the least attractive quadrant on his matrix is low coherence, low performance, and he called that the runaway quadrant,
Yeah.
because people want to run away from being in that condition, and I think that's what you're talking about here. And just
Yes.
like as a final point, because I think I'd love to talk to you more about this, and I think we will, because there's something afoot here in San Martino de Porto with this idea. I don't know if I sent you the article that I wrote about a different kind of tourism here, in the off season.
Yes. Yes. I said the article
Yeah,
very well written.
yeah, thank you. I'm, I think there's something in the air, something we can bring about, and this is a beautiful setting for it. So the final question, for now at least, is it would appear you see Portugal as a sort of nutritious and supportive setting for this kind of work. Is that right?
Yes, because Portugal possesses many qualities.
Mm.
Instead, aside from being affordable and safe, there's other aspect that we don't see in many countries these days.
Yeah, yeah,
There's a stability, um, and of course, the weather is fantastic, as we both know. But there is so much potential,
mm,
right? There's many places where we could do something similar, but it's overcrowded already,
yes,
or there's no effort to really step out of urban space. And I think that Portugal possesses this potential. And hopefully, in the years to come, we will see more and more projects that are focusing on this idea to get out of all of this digital pollution. First, it
yeah,
needs to be recognized, of course,
yes,
and
yes,
tap into the full benefits to be in nature, because nature is the healer, period.
absolutely,
It's not about
absolutely,
me. I'm just
yeah,
the provider. I'm bringing people where they need to be to get a fix. So
yeah,
when they go home with a real smile, feeling more light, feeling more happy, more content. Uh,
yes,
And again, Carl, it's not about giving them more information. People know by now.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
true.
it's pointless to always tell people you shouldn't do this. Really?
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
They know,
I,
don't they?
I I sit every day. Every time I hear someone running a programs on digital wellness or so,
Yeah.
should refrain from using your phone when you go to bed. Duh, of course. And
Yes.
there's always this kind of narrative, and it becomes almost like nobody cares
Yeah. Yeah.
because I know better, right? That's the kind of
Well, we're in the age, aren't we? I suppose the equivalent of when people used to go to the doctor and the doctor was smoking.
yeah,
And have you tried these? And
yeah,
then that probably gave way to research shows that smoking can be quite bad for you. Funnily
yeah.
enough, inhaling the noxious gases of burning
It's a good
chemicals.
example.
Yeah, and but that didn't stop it, did it? It was like, okay, I'm going to smoke less, or I'm going to take a different approach on this rather than just stop it. So, yeah, smoking went out of the doctor's surgery, I
Yeah,
think, but then it carried on, didn't it? And we were in that phase, I think, of we knowing it's
we're in
bad,
this
but
exactly.
not knowing.
We're in that phase, and you
Yeah,
know, we said that sitting is the new smoking. Remember that?
is that right? Sitting is the new smoking. I've
Yeah,
not heard
that
that before.
was a couple of years ago.
I'm behind
It
the
was
times.
it was move it or lose it. Even
Oh,
the a doctor said it's better to eat crap and move, you
yes.
know,
Yeah, yeah.
than eat healthy and do sweet nothing. And I would
Exactly.
say like
Yes.
today in the world we're
Yes.
living, we can
Yeah.
also say that scrolling is the new smoking.
Scrolling is the new smoking. Well, there's a note to end on. As a
Over
point,
scrolling.
yes, as it could get over scrolling. As a just a something to consider. How do people get in touch with you if they're inspired by your message and your work and want to stay in touch? What's the best way of doing that, Eric?
I'm present on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I try to keep it professional.
Yes.
Um, Not much present on other platforms, to be honest with you. Of
Well,
course,
people
people
can
can
find you
find
on
me
LinkedIn.
using my website,
Yep.
email info@digipause.com. Always
Okay.
happy to talk more about solutions that exist and I can provide.
Well,
Open especially to find people who want to join force to bring this message where it's needed,
absolutely.
especially the ones that are keen to look at the future of tourism in Portugal and
Yes.
ways to bring something more holistic into the hospitality experience itself. And
We
that's
have
what
got
I'm
such
after.
a great opportunity, haven't we? Because it hasn't been completely ruined yet. there's there's such a fantastic tradition that has welcomed us, and that I think I can speak on our behalf that we love and recognize. And there's a beautiful opportunity with this, isn't there? I think this is beyond kind of, like you said, waving fingers, what's right and wrong. It's like, what would be great? What would be amazing? What would serve us beautifully and
Yeah.
each other? And that's
And
that's
I
still possible, I think.
and Carl, I think the best example we have here is this power outage. Remember?
Yes,
That was
yes,
just a
I
few weeks
do.
ago. And
That's
I
right.
mean, it's important to remember that day
Yes,
because guess what? During that day, we were able to taste what it means to be human again.
absolutely. And
I
some
mean, as
people
far
are
as I'm
sad.
concerned, I don't know about you, but for me, I was with my girlfriend. She's a native from Porto. We went to the beach. We went to see the family. It was amazing,
Yep, absolutely. And a lot of
right?
Portuguese people really made the best of that day.
Yeah.
There were two kinds of sadness that day, I think. The first sadness was, oh my God, I can't do my work, which was quite short-lived, because the second sadness was, oh no, the electricity's come back on.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. It was like a
I
bit of a
do.
disappointment, right?
That's right, absolutely.
Uh,
Too
we
soon.
started to have fun and
Too
now it's
soon.
back.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
Oh, Eric, great fun talking to you. Let's keep in touch and let's
we
see how
will.
this can develop. I thank you so much. Now, it seems inappropriate to give you a rapturous round of applause. You're going to get some gumper dust, some celestial seasoning, spiritual seasoning there. So this is for you. Muito obrigado. Até a próxima. Tchau.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts